Hi, welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with the little fireplace over my shoulder. I want to say thank you, as usual, to Judy Zerubik, who makes the tech look so easy when in fact it's not that easy at all. And to Terry Boyd, who renders it to our YouTube channel once Judy sends him the recording. Thank you to both of you. Now, last Friday, we entered stage one of the provincial reopening plan, and you can tell by the crowds in town on the weekend. That plan includes the gradual reopening of restaurant patios. In turn, establishments have had to advertise for staff to serve prospective customers. For the book lovers among us, we are eagerly awaiting the time when we can return to the wonderful stacks in the library. And once libraries are allowed to open, they will need books to loan out. This puts pressure on those writing the books. Others among us are eagerly considering traveling holidays. We need to be careful, though, when reading road signs. Yeah, I know that's a terrible pun. Indeed, the pandemic has really affected some prices. Still, others may have come to erroneous understandings of what fitness regimes require. As the summer quickly approaches, enthusiastic gardeners among us may need limits. Finally, the lassitude many of us are feeling these days isn't really anything new. Sadly, our society seems to have fallen asleep when it comes to the shock many people have felt at the discovery of the unmarked graves of 215 Indigenous children at the former Kamloops residential school. Our educational system failed when educating us about the horrors of broken treaties, of residential schools, of the 60s scoop, and of the current overpopulation of Indigenous children in our Canadian child foster care system. A little over a week ago, at the Canadian Juno Awards for Music Excellence, Buffy St. Marie opened the broadcast this way.
I'm Buffy St. Marie. This broadcast is coming from the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a peace and friendship treaty among the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee people that binds them to share the territory and protect the land. Treaties across Canada invite Canadians and newcomers into new meaningful relationships with the original people of this country. In the spirit of peace and friendship and respect. The recent discovery of even more remains of residential school Indigenous children, this time in Kamloops. It's shocking to some people and a revelation, but it's not news to Indigenous people. The genocide basic to this country's birth is ongoing, and we need to face it together. And I ask for your compassion. Kichimigwech, kinanaskomitin.
Notice she named a treaty between 3 First Nations made before European settlers ever set foot on Turtle Island. That treaty was about peace, friendship, and respect, stewarding the land faithfully. She was clear that the finding of those remains of 215 Indigenous children was not news at all to Indigenous communities. She emphasized that such genocide is basic to this country's birth, and it is ongoing. She asks for compassion as we walk together this hard path. As Marcus Borg writes in his book, Days of Awe and Wonder, How to Be a Christian in the 21st Century, compassion is utterly central to the teaching of Jesus. Compassion in the world of the everyday means a life of compassion and a passion for justice. Compassion without justice easily gets individualized or sentimentalized, and justice without compassion easily sounds like politics. Compassion understood in this manner resolutely faces the difficult questions in life. Consider this picture taken by Dan Hines on a hike overlooking Kamloops as he was pondering what he called a gentle circle of folks speaking and listening to each other. Dan Hines is a group facilitator recognized by the Center for Courage and Renewal and an ordained Anglican priest. The gentle circle to which he referred was of people from Kamloops, BC, both Indigenous and settler. Here is the poem he wrote on that hike while pondering. Genocide used to be evil in others. The past, far away, misled by demagogues, gas chambers, Rwandan machetes, Sarajevo graves. Others, no longer. Hundreds of children lie, buried to be forgotten, found in my neighborhood, families known to my kin, close to home, remembered. Now carefully examine this picture. This is painted on a door at one wall of the former Kamloops residential school. Above the image of the hollow-eyed Indigenous child are the words, "Never forget." Notice to the upper left, a Nazi swastika is spray painted with the stylized SS symbol of the secret service of the Nazis beneath. Now look again at the Indigenous child. One lone feather poking above the back of short-cut hair. The child is wearing a black robe with a clerical collar, likely symbolizing the goal of residential schools to, at the very least, assimilate Indigenous children into Christian and white culture. The inverted cross on the front of the robe symbolizes the satanic nature of the abuse, neglect, and genocide the residential schools perpetrated. Hard though it may be to believe, some survived residential schools. This woman is Weewaikai elder Alberta Billy, a residential school survivor. She is also a longtime activist for reconciliation, claiming that churches and governments need to concretely demonstrate accountability for the harms done to Indigenous children and their families. As she pauses to catch her breath from the strain of breathing while fighting pneumonia and on oxygen, she describes Indigenous reality. These tragic happenings are still engraved in our minds, our bodies, our soul, our spirit. She takes another breath as she continues. I think it's important that we talk about it because this will be only one of thousands of grave sites. They've got to be all across Canada. What they did was send the children as far away from home as they could go to these schools so that there wouldn't be a connection with parents or siblings. She pauses once again to breathe. We have always held our children as sacred, and everyone took care of them. We wanted them to be safe and happy children growing up, and we were that way before contact. Government policies ruined the family structure. This is a meme I got from my Facebook feed. Like the Prime Minister, many of us find our hearts breaking, but we are frozen by indecision. Actions we initiated years ago carry on with inevitable inertia. This meme refers to a trial on class action lawsuit seeking reparations for the devastation residential schools inflicted on First Nations cultures, languages, and communities. This court action was part of a broader lawsuit filed in 2012 by the Tecumseh, Asquemenche, and Siska Nation in BC, the same First Nations where the remains of 215 Indigenous children were found. Prime ministers of all stripes have taken the same path, lacking action. Ironically, this cartoon describes our collective lack of action. Some people have claimed this sentiment that a small voice whispered, "It's okay now, they found us." Except it isn't okay, because the wounds of our system of colonization hurts, twists, and warps all of us. Reconciliation means compassion. We need to enter into the sacred fire of hurt our society has perpetrated. Only when we listen and pay attention, defined as giving reverence to our Indigenous neighbors, only then can we find passion for healing and act for justice. We need to enter into shared suffering through conversation and dialogue. I want to share with you a video produced by a tribe called Red. They are a Canadian electronic music group who blend instrumental hip hop and dubstep influenced dance music with elements of First Nations music, particularly vocal chanting and Indigenous drumming. The group won a Juno Award in 2018 for Group of the Year, after which they changed their name to Hallucination. Get the pun? Their new name refers to the ancient tradition of vision quest. Their new vision is to celebrate and to champion Indigenous perception and practice of First Nations' unique culture as a spiritual journey. Notice that this video is very much a fusion of urban Indigenous experience and the Indigenous experience and heritage from the land. Notice the transformation of the urban, hard-faced, streetwise Indigenous man into a passionate hoop dancer wearing the proud regalia of his culture. Notice the images of boxing depicting the constant fight to reclaim Indigenous identity. Notice the exuberant freedom in the children running through the grasslands, through the woods, by the water, all affirming their identity with the land. Notice the heavy construction equipment symbolizing the exploitation of that same land. Notice the blockade barriers erected to protect the land against the power and the colonization of Canada. Finally, notice the children's faces. Below this video on the YouTube page, some of the comments are revealing. Quote, everybody wants the native aesthetic, but doesn't want to deal with the actual struggle and pain of First Nations, historical and present day, unquote. Another comment, quote, just one look at all the beautiful young men and women of this culture, and you'll understand that they're not going to give up without a good fight, unquote. And a third wistful comment, thank you for giving me the courage to dance in parks again after being targeted by police. Native men especially have always shown me such kindness. Is there hope? This is a 12-year-old boy named Luke. He loves spending time on the land surrounding his home in the Chippewas of Nawash, unceded First Nation, called Neyahishimingimeng, or what we call Cape Croker. He loves to fish. Whatever they catch, they eat, and whatever they can't eat, they share with others in the community. They make sure they can think of an elder who they can share their catch with. This is Luke with his best friend, Zoe. They are part of the Healthy Living program at the local elementary school. The program emphasizes generational learning and reconnecting to centuries-old Ojibwe relationships with food and the land. The result of racism, colonization, residential schools, and the 60s scoop have left deep scars on families through generations. The program is meant to combat that reality so that this generation will have all those skills while being encouraged to pass it on to their families. Knowledge sharing is key to intergenerational learning, not just from elders to children, but often the other way around. For example, Luke is great at fishing and filleting, teaching other adults how to do it. He also teaches his peers to set up bait and hide traps. As he told his mom, everyone is a knowledge holder, no matter how old you are. This approach reflects the medicine woman's prayer about the path to wholeness. I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. I will not fix you, for you are not broken. I will not heal you, for I see you in your wholeness. I will walk with you through the darkness as you remember your light. Let us too remember our light. Let us walk with our Indigenous neighbors as we together remember our light. May it be so. Let's join together in this poetic prayer written by R. Lacey Laforme, who is the elected chief of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. This prayer is titled Reconciliation. It is a prayer from deep within her heart, so let us join our hearts with hers in prayer. I sit here crying. I don't know why. I didn't know the children. I didn't know the parents, but I knew their spirit. I knew their love. I know their loss. I know their potential, and I am overwhelmed by the pain and the hurt. The pain of the families and friends, the pain of an entire people, unable to protect them, to help them, to comfort them, to love them. I didn't know them, but the pain is so real, so personal. I feel it in my core, my heart, my spirit. I sit here crying, and I am not ashamed. I will cry for them and the many others like them. I will cry for you. I will cry for me. I will cry for the what could have been. Then I will calm myself, smudge myself, offer prayers. And I know they are no longer in pain. No longer do they hurt. They are at peace. In time, I will tell their story. I will educate society so their memory is not lost to this world. And when I am asked, what does reconciliation mean to me? I will say, I want their lives back. I want to see their laughter, see their smiles. Give me that, and I'll grant you reconciliation. Amen. I know this topic is heavy and leaves us feeling helpless. It makes me feel helpless too. So I also know that when we listen carefully to God, when we live into the ways of loving kindness, following paths of compassion, even in the middle of the hard questions, healing happens. In light of those hard questions and our remembered light, here is a blessing originally written for the United Nations Day of Prayer for World Peace. O great Spirit of our ancestors, I raise my pipe to you, to your messengers, the four winds, and to Mother Earth who provides for your children. Give us the wisdom to teach our children to love, to respect, and to be kind to each other so that they may grow with peace in mind. Let us learn to share all the good things you provide for us on this earth as we go from this digital space, to share in all the good things the Creator provides. Let us love one another in an expansive understanding and listening. Until next week's Fireside Chat, goodbye.